Hey everyone, this is Crypto Dream. This will not be financial advice. This probably won't talk about anything really financially. But what I want to talk about is this phrase, we're all in it for the money. Obviously, it's commonly used, and it makes sense because why would you be in crypto unless you had some intention of making money? But for me, I am in crypto for the freedom it can give me. The freedom from the financial institutions that tries to hold us down and extract all the wealth from the middle and lower class. When they print money, it goes to the banks, it goes to government, and usually huge corporations. And inflation doesn't hit until it's distributed more and people realize their money's not worth much. So by the time it trickles down to us, it's lost most of its value. So they get the fruits, the first fruits. They get the bailouts, and there's been a few times we got stimulus or whatever. There are welfare programs to help the lower class, but usually it involves taxes, and taxes obviously hit most of us. Not to forget that inflation itself is a silent tax. We often experience it without seeing the actual number of it. People say, of course, Bitcoin is actually more centralized than it is, and at worst is less centralized than what we have now, because they can freeze your accounts through banks, they can fine you, they can take your money. Bitcoin, it's a little bit more difficult because they have the possibility to track it, which they did with Silk Road. A bunch of criminals doing a bunch of criminal things, purchasing things that they shouldn't be purchasing with Bitcoin. And the reason that they were able to get those people is because they were able to track their wallet address, attach them to their wallet address, and every single transaction was on the blockchain. Bitcoin can be centralized because you have miners, you have all the stuff that it takes to make it. When these miners actually go to mine, a lot of times they'll take these loans because they have to be able to be very quick at doing these transactions and doing the hashtags. So these miners are usually indebted to the banks. And when you have bear markets, of course the bear market can hit, and then the banks could neither money and their Bitcoin that they have to pay for the loans might not be worth half as much as they were. I feel like miners are getting wiser and more able to sustain themselves, but that's something to keep in mind. Let's circle back a little bit. So Bitcoin was meant to be peer-to-peer. When you go buy something from a food market or whatever, you hand them cash directly. That's untrackable. A lot less trackable than Bitcoin. But I do not believe, and I'm not able really to be convinced that Satoshi Nakamoto was intending for there to be huge exchanges like we have. I feel like these exchanges are a middleman, and in order to get money on exchanges, you also have to go through your bank, so it actually perpetuates banking. Now, if you're doing trade with Bitcoin, then it would be more peer-to-peer, and which is ideal. But we got BlackRock getting in the game, we got ARK Invest, and all these other ones. So things are moving towards centralization, moving towards less freedom. But that does not negate that if you have Bitcoin, you can do peer-to-peer. It's kind of if you had enough people doing it, you could have your own bubble to where you wouldn't be involved with the banks, and the banks is what we're trying to get away with, or at least what I thought everyone was supposed to be trying to get away with. A lot of people talking about against decentralization. Well, the obvious option other than decentralization is centralization, which is you asking permission for things. You having to go to an authority. I would prefer, and I would hope that everyone else would prefer, not to have authorities, but to have where we all can participate without fear of someone telling us no. I don't like many things criminals do, but the risk is so high that when we see all these different things, like the truckers, of course, getting their accounts froze, you can't go over borders without. I've heard stories of people that literally come from other countries and they have to make multiple trips and they can't bring so much money at a time. And then they have to give the bank so much money at a time because the bank holds the money. You can't just withdraw or put in money as you please. You've heard of bail-outs. Well, there's bail-ins where they take customer funds to pay off their debts. And these things are illegal. It's obviously they don't want to take customer funds to pay their debts because that will hurt their future business, but that is an option banks have. I really hope you guys consider freedom and realize that money is not going to do you any good if they come out with a CBDC and then they lock all your accounts. And even if you have millions of dollars, they freeze your account, you got nothing. Think about that.